Good evening. Tonight we have a very good play for you, entitled Sticks and Stones. This, of course, is from an old saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me." I believe that's a quotation from Plato's Republic, or Lolita, I can't quite remember which. Anyway, Sticks and Stones concerns a big pitcher who had little ears when it came to listening to good advice. It also shows that a pitcher's mound can be a very lonely place, even when surrounded by 17 other ball players, 2 umpires, and 50,000 screaming fans. Twist Thompson is the pitcher, most handsomely played by John Ericson, a pitcher who threw himself a fast curve, swung wide, and got caught off base. That's a thoroughly mixed up baseball metaphor, I'm afraid, but in the national pastime, anything can happen. It's still called the national pastime, although I have a faint suspicion that it's now running a poor second to income tax evasion. Anyway, settle down, get your popcorn, your soft drinks, put your feet up, and watch the play. See what happens when an ill-advised pitcher tips his mitt.
A crank letter, that's all you give it.
That's all I give it.
And the one 2 weeks ago, the others before that.
You're a national celebrity, Mr. Thompson. A major league pitcher. Top one. People in your position are vulnerable to this sort of thing.
A poison pen letters, sure. But a threatening note to their wives. Oh, come on, Lieutenant.
Oh, Mr. Thompson, believe me, we're doing all we can. We've got the postal department on top of this thing. I've got 2 men watching your apartment night and day.
Some kook's floating around town, a gun in his pocket.
There's no kook floating around town.
Okay. Look, Lieutenant, maybe I don't make myself clear. My wife, she's a highly nervous person. Everything, even little things, always upset her. Well, you've seen her, how she is. She hasn't had a decent night's sleep since these letters began. That's 9 weeks. She won't go out, she won't eat. Frankly, I'm worried sick about her. My pitching's way off, and I haven't won a game in 2 months.
Well, if there's anything else we could do.
There it is. Give this thing to the papers.
The papers?
They can help if they know.
I thought we'd been through all this.
Explain what it is. What's behind my bad ear?
Now, listen, I told you before. No papers.
It'll be one less thing for my wife to worry about.
One less thing. Mr. Thompson, how many times do you have to have this said to you? People who send out stuff like this, they're sick, unimportant creeps who've been building up venom in their system for years. So they take it out on somebody in the limelight, somebody like yourself, getting their kicks out of sending out crud like this. 9 times out of 10, that's as far as it goes. But pay it some attention. You're putting the little man on a spot. He's made a big promise. If he wants to be a big man, he's got to fulfill it. I thought I'd made that clear.
So what are we supposed to do, sit and sweat it out?
Well, for a while.
How long a while?
Oh, you know I can't promise.
You know, letting the press, the crowds tear me to pieces. My manager threatening to send me down. You know what that's doing to my wife.
Well, the way you're going right now, you're not doing yourself or the club any good. Look, maybe if you were to sit out a few games.
And give this screwball the satisfaction of scaring me off the mound.
I'm sorry, but...
But, you know, there's nothing else you can do. Okay.
But, Mr. Thompson, I know what you're going through. Both you and your wife. And if it's any comfort, we're doing everything we can. But I meant what I said before about the press. Open your mouth. You're asking for grief.
Morning mail, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, sir.
Twist. Was there anything there?
Will you listen to this kook rise now? I mean, will you listen? The question arises, how much longer manager Wares will go with his fading star? And recognize, as this column does, that Thompson has had his day. A fact even apparent to the knothole set, which twice weekly scrambles the bleachers, chasing home run balls slapped off his once lethal curve. That Reisner.
There's nothing there.
When I think of the drinks I bought this gin-soaked hack.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey. It's just this thing. Worrying about it to where I can't work. The paper's ragging me. The crowd on my back telling me that I'm through. You know, if I could just go to them and tell them.
The papers? But Lieutenant Bryan said...
Oh, I know what Lieutenant Bryan said. Honey, don't you know what he's really afraid of? Give it to the papers. They'll start asking questions. 9 weeks you've been on this, Bryan, so how come you haven't figured it? That's what he's really afraid of.
Well, I don't know. I really can't think anymore. I'm scared. I don't mean to be scared. I try not to be. At night, every time I hear sounds, And these letters, the way they keep coming. It's even worse when they don't.
Okay.
Twist.
Okay, now, let's not have another word about it. No papers. How about some coffee?
I know I haven't been a help to you, Twist. I know what I'm putting you through.
It's something, you know, really something. You fight to reach at the top. Spend half your life at it, and everything from the Reisners right to your own wife trying to hold you back.
Twist. I've never.
You've never? Well, and it's never been anything else. Since the day I started up 10 years ago, you've feared it. My friends, the success, the money I've made. Even this place. Every time I got a headline or a raise, you died a little. You had your way, I'd still be back in Iowa, pitching Class B ball. Well, now you got it. The perfect excuse.
The perfect... Twist, what are you saying to me?
Oh, nothing, honey. I had no right to say that.
I've never tried to hold you back. To hurt your career. You know that.
Of course not.
When?
Look, will you please put it out of your mind? I was a heel for even saying it. Yeah? Oh, yeah, sure, Hank. What? Well, Hank, I worked 3 days ago, last Saturday. What about Freel? Well, I know, Hank, but I... Yeah, sure, Hank. I'll be down at the park in 30 minutes.
They want you to pitch today? Freel was supposed to. It was his turn.
My shoulder didn't come around. I better get going.
Twist.
Look, Ann, you're gonna be all right. There are 2 cops outside watching the place. Even if anybody got into the building, you'll have the door locked. You are gonna be all right, aren't you, Annie? I won't have to worry about you, I mean.
No.
Try to get some rest. And, well, it might be a good idea if you didn't listen to the game, okay?
It's a line drive deep to left center. Jackson's going over. He can't reach it. It's over his head, off the wall. 1 runs in, 2. Shibe digs for third. Jackson's up with the ball. His throw. Shibe hits the dirt, slides in safe. Wentz pulling up at second with a stand-up double as 2 more runs come across. Manager Hank Wares coming out of the dugout. Starts toward the mound, his second trip out this inning. So that'll be all for Thompson.
Ready. Another tank full, double. Double scotch, yes, sir. Things you run into when you haven't got a gun. Drink for my friend, Mr. Reisner, Freddie. What are you drinking, Mr. Reisner?
Oh, you buying?
When don't I? Glass of ink for Mr. Reisner, yellow ink.
Hey, you're very funny, Twist. You should have been a comedian.
Oh, glad to know I got something to fall back on when you write me out of the business.
Oh, is that what I'm doing? Writing you out of the business?
The question arises, how did he put it, Freddie? How much longer manager Wares will go with his fading star and recognize, as this column does, that Thompson has had his day? You're a generous guy, Reisner. Another one, Freddie. A lousy writer, but you're a generous guy.
What was it, about 10 years ago that we first met, Twist? Remember the day? You'd just been bought for an 80 grand bonus. Loudmouth, cocky punk kid. All you could see was your name and money. You tossed them both around like they were dirty water.
It's my name, my money, my business.
No, not your business. Not as a national idol.
You're not only a lousy writer, you're corny.
No, the only thing I liked about you was your arm. The rest of you I'd have traded for a piece of cheese. Every time you lost a game, it wasn't enough just to lose. You had to blame somebody else. Loud blame, Twist. Usually some poor kid trying to make his way up. You ever stop to count the guys your club sends down to the minors just to keep you happy?
It's your story, Dad.
Well, I took it on myself to call you on it. You're a hero, I said. Big man. Large with the public. You got large obligations. Remember what your answer was? So many four-letter words. You told me all I was concerned with was how you played ball. Well, Twist, I'm concerned with your play.
So I had a couple of bad games.
More than a couple. 14 to be exact.
That's a rough season, though. That happened.
You know, only once this year you went past 5 innings?
And that all spells finish to you, huh? Oh, I'm dead. Just couldn't be anything else?
Like what?
Even you and your lousy job. You're under the gun to get out copy. A deadline to make, a story to file. You're in your lousy hole of an office, sweating at sea. The mailboy comes, a letter. You open it up, and there on the paper...
I'm listening.
Lay off me, Reisner. You just don't know what you're doing. You just don't know.
Just a loudmouth, cocky punk kid. You were then and you are now. Well, I don't like cocky punk kids. They louse up the game.
Twist. I'm looking all over for you, everywhere. I heard the game. Twist, the way they were booing.
Nothing's colder than a hero gone sour, Mrs. Thompson.
Pitcher like my husband doesn't go sour all of a sudden. You ought to know that, Mr. Reisner. Must be some reason.
Yeah, for instance.
Someone's been sending him letters.
Letters?
Letters, Mr. Reisner, threatening my life.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Aren't you making an awful lot of this, Brian?
Mr. Thompson, we've got one thing in common, your business and mine. We both live by statistics. Now, a man comes up to bat, he's hitting .250. That's 1 in 4, huh? Now, what worries you? The 3 times he's going to pop up? Or the 1 time he's going to whistle a single right past your ear?
And don't tell me there's that kind of a chance. 1 in 4.
Maybe not 1 in 50. But we've got a morgue full of people downstairs who couldn't beat odds better than that. I thought you understood that, Mrs. Thompson. All right. All right. Papers have it. We'll do what we can from our end. We'll expect you to do what you can from yours. Keep her out of public places. Use a cab if you have to go someplace. Don't use your own car. I'll have one of my people watching you all the time. All right, you can take her home now.
Lieutenant, I don't want you to think I'm not grateful for everything you've done.
I got a hunch I know just how grateful you are, Mr. Thompson. And for what?
Good night, Lieutenant.
Good night, Mr. Thompson. Mac got a sworn that's the last thing in the world she'd have done. Him, I could see. Well, he's been pushing me and hounding me to get it in the papers all the time. I always had the feeling he was more concerned about himself than about his wife. For her to do it, shaken, scared like she was.
She did it for him.
Mm-hmm. No, Mac. She's a frightened woman. Always has been. He told me so himself.
I don't follow.
Well, she's conditioned to fear. It's her prime motivation, Mac. You see it all the time. Small-time girl marries boy next door. He hits it, the big time. She feels like she's a drag on him, can't keep up. Not that he's made things any easier, you know. He's smooth in here, but you know his reputation. Women, freeloaders, backslapping fakes. Got to where his ball club was spending more money killing hot copy on him than they were paying him to pitch. So she sits up there in that apartment all day worrying about losing him, trying to figure out some way she... Unless...
What?
Mac, who's watching the Thompson apartment?
Oh, Phillips and Reel, they took over at midnight.
Get that car on the phone quick, huh?
There's somebody at the door.
Oh, honey, will you?
Who's there?
Lieutenant Bryan.
It's 3:30.
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Well, what is it?
Sit down, Mr. Thompson. You too, if you will, Mrs. Thompson.
Lieutenant, can't this thing...
If you don't mind. Do you know the penalty for using the mail to send threatening letters? Well, in this state, it's strong. 2 to 10 years in prison.
Prison? What do you mean?
When you first brought these letters to my attention, Mr. Thompson, can I trouble you for a cigarette? I accepted them for what they appeared to be, the creation of a sick, demented mind. Maybe dangerous, maybe no.
Well?
Even yesterday when you brought the last one. Tonight when I read that headline in the paper.
What are you getting at?
Well, I'm a slow thinker, Mr. Thompson. And not an expert in human behavior. But I do think. And I do know something about people. Now, sometimes it takes me a little while to get there. In this case, it wasn't until after you left the office this evening.
What do you mean, this case?
The letters, Mr. Thompson. The letters sent to you threatening the life of your wife. Pretty terrifying thing, wasn't it, Mrs. Thompson?
Well, what do you expect?
Especially the thought of the newspapers picking it up. Every time I talked to you, it was your one big fear. And yet this afternoon, you gave the information to the papers. You did the one thing you seemed so frightened of.
For me. She did it for me to get me off the hook.
Mm-hmm. A noble enough gesture, considering she hung you there in the first place. That's right, Mr. Thompson. Your wife sent those letters.
Sent them? Why, you are out of your mind. She wouldn't do a thing like that. Or why would she do a thing like that?
Fear?
Fear of what?
Your career, your success. And like all frightened people, she tried to destroy the thing that frightened her most.
Oh, now, listen, you can't. She gave it out to the papers, didn't she? Why would she do that?
Case of last-minute remorse?
Oh, no. Oh, no. You can't come in here at 3 in the... Well, of all the crazy... Brian, I'm going to sue you. Sue the living daylights out of you, a lousy, stinking accusation like that, and no proof.
Except there is proof, Mr. Thompson. The letters, Mr. Thompson. All 5 of them. All on the same type stationery.
So?
When you left my office this evening, I phoned the 2 men who were watching the front of this building. I sent one of them in here to search the place. He found what he was looking for. This paper, there, in that desk. He also found a jar of paste. Brought a sample back to the lab. There's the same type of paste that was used in gluing this newspaper print to these letters.
Tell him, honey. Tell him that he's all balled up.
He's not. I sent the letters.
You'll have to file charges, Mrs. Thompson. I'll expect you in the morning before 11.
I'll be there.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I think we punish the wrong people.
could you do that to me, Twist? How could you send those letters? Letting me think somebody wanted to kill me.
Annie. Annie, you gotta try to understand. Please try.
What, Twist? What do I have to understand? That you were losing it? That your fastball isn't alive anymore? Your curve is dead?
No, it was the crowds. Well, you saw what they were doing to me. Yelling and booing.
So you grabbed onto this. Sent those letters. Planned to use them as an excuse.
Yeah. Well, what else could I do?
No matter what it did to me.
Well, I've been good to you, Annie. Money, this place. You wanted for nothing.
For everything, Twist. For 10 long years.
No, that's not true, and you know it.
Ever since you first came up. Since the crowds began. Other men have loved the crowds, but you lived for them. They were like a drug to you. You became sick on them.
Be good to me, Annie, baby. I need you.
I was good to you, Twist. I took it. The crowds, the women, the lies, watching you spend money on cheap, filthy people who knew all they had to do to get a drink or car or furs from you was throw themselves or their praise at you. I took it. The loneliness, never seeing you, sometimes not even knowing where you were. Being a woman my age without children because you didn't want children. But I took it. Because I knew one day it'd all be gone. The crowds, the women.
Anne.
And there'd be nobody left to help you. But me.
Let it be like that, Annie. Help me.
No, Twist.
It can still be that way. You want it to be, I can tell.
I'd be no help to you. Not anymore.
You love me, Anne, I know. What you did tonight, you're taking the blame.
What I did tonight was give up Twist. I gave up to the crowds.
Well, I don't...
Tomorrow, the papers will tell that I sent those letters. You know what that will mean to you, Twist? Your crutch will be gone. There'll be no more excuse. Nobody to blame your failure on anymore. It'll be just you and the crowds. Good night, Twist.
Where you going?
To sleep. You know, for the first time in 10 years, I really think I will.
Anne?